Have you ever joined a company or been at an interview and the very first thing they tell you is that we're like a family? It sounds warm, right? Sounds really supportive, like people have your back no matter what. But here's the real problem with this statement. In the corporate world, that phrase doesn't mean what you think it means. So in this video, I'm going to pull the curtain back on that phrase about being a family and how it's not just fluffy, but it can be a subtle cue for red flags in a company's culture. So let's think about this right now. So the word family is one of the most emotionally loaded words. It means loyalty, it means love, forgiveness. So when a company says that to you, they're trying to trigger that same emotional response in you. They're trying to trigger those feelings in you. But the real problem is that in the corporate world, families are forever, but jobs are not. Your real family's love is not conditional on you hitting KPIs or OKRs every quarter. And in your real family, you don't get performance managed out when times are tough. This is why I think calling a workplace a family is really dangerous and setting a really dangerous expectation. It's an unrealistic expectation from you to them, and it isn't the other way around. So let's try and unpack this phrase about being a family at work. And I'm going to unpack it and tell you what it really translates to in the business world. So the first thing it can mean is that you're going to go above and beyond at all times whenever necessary. This can mean working late, weekend email checking, having a quick task to do at midnight that is urgent. And why all this? Because families pull together, right? Whatever happens, families stick together and they get through it. So you're going to have to do the same. So this family mindset is used to justify a culture of constant work and constant overwork. Also, this notion of family really blurs boundaries. And in my other videos I've done recently, even about your co-workers and setting relationship boundaries there, this narrative around workplace being a family, it blurs those lines. It blurs those lines. And unfortunately, it means that it's making you emotionally available and oversharing at work, which is something you don't want to be in. You don't want to be in that place. So you're expected to share more of your personal life, take on more responsibilities than you're actually paid to do. And also it means that you should be emotionally available outside of work because you're a family and it's always on. Like a family you can't switch off or just leave being part of. It's always there. The same with this workplace. You're effectively always going to be available to them emotionally. And those boundaries blur effectively around your ability to separate your personal life from your work life. And this notion of family is also coming from the employer, from the company. It is a one-way loyalty. It is not a two-way street. So you're expected to stick around during the rough patches and really help out and get the company through whatever it is that they're going through. But when the company needs to cut costs, you're up there on the chopping block effectively. There is no segregation between loyalties there. It's whatever cost-cutting measures need to be put into place. Another way to translate this phrase is that they're actually using belonging as leverage against you. By being a family, you'll automatically feel guilty for saying no, for not going the extra mile, or for even asking for something that it's within your right to have, but you feel the guilt and emotional weight of being this whole family unit. Therefore, you can't ask or voice a certain opinion. So there's no point in you asking for that pay rise or leaving for a better job because no one will treat you better because you're family, right? And don't get me wrong, I don't want to be overly negative here because I know genuinely some leaders use this phrase as a way of saying that the environment is supportive and they want to be a supportive leader. And I totally get that. But at the same time, in a corporate setting, it is a subtle power play. Family is often a word for control, effectively. It's a control mechanism. So let me give you an example. So when a leader emotionally wraps performance expectations with this language of family and emotional attachment, it becomes really hard for you to push back on things. Because if you push back, you'll feel like you're betraying the family. So this expectation they're setting of you to overperform or to go beyond, you don't want to betray the family and do that. So in reality, this compliance of you being part of the family means you're working harder for less. You're staying longer for not extra money. And have you also noticed, and this has happened to me a few times in my career, where that label can switch. So it's all about family, and then all of a sudden when the business needs to change, you'll hear the narrative change. This is a business after all, so we need to pivot. It's just business at the end of the day. So what can you do? How can you tell the difference between this healthy culture versus a manipulative culture? And these are some of the things you should look for, some of the things that really, I think, will be in a healthy culture versus a manipulative one. So in a healthy culture, you'll see that there are clear boundaries being set. These boundaries are between your personal life and your work life. So you can really see a clear distinction between the two, so you can live a healthy balance. There's also a degree of transparency, more so than in these manipulative cultures, because in a healthy environment, you'll have transparency about what is expected of you, what are the performance expectations, what is the output expectation that you're meant to deliver as well. And a healthy culture shows you that loyalty is earned, recognition is earned, so that it's based on how much you deliver, how much impact you bring to the company. And that's a really healthy recognition framework, rather than it being about the family closeness or, political plays. It's really about how much value you're bringing and how much effort you're putting in as well. And it's also a really healthy environment if leaders support your growth, even if that growth means that eventually you'll leave. Because of all careers, they have lifespans. They're not, you shouldn't really stay in a company your entire life and work the ladder slowly. That won't get you anywhere, won't get you growth, because companies are only exposed to a certain sphere around what they do, and you will not get the exposure you need to grow. That's just how corporate world works. But a good leader and a good healthy environment, they'll understand that they'll grow you as much as they can, to the point where you may naturally want the next step outside of the organization. And that is a healthy, transparent thing, not a hidden, no that you can't talk about. And you'll know when you're in a manipulative culture, because as soon as you try to step out the door, you'll be shamed for it. You'll be shamed for, I can't believe you're leaving. It's, you're leaving a good thing here, even though the pay is low and you're working long hours. You'll get that sort of sentiment from your team or from your manager or the company as a whole. If you're getting that sense when you're leaving, then you're doing the right thing. Also, if you notice that there's a real lack of transparency around pay, promotions, or even layoffs, I think this is really a sign of a manipulative culture as well, that you need to watch out for. It's usually red flags in an organization if you can't really tell what's going on with pay and pay disparity, but also how people actually get promoted. So in a nutshell there, a healthy workplace will feel friendly, but they're not forcing you to be family or put this context of family around it. So the next time you hear that phrase, we're a family, don't just smile and nod. I want you to pause and ask the question, what does that actually look like in this company? Let's unpack that phrase and find out what it actually looks like in this particular company you're talking with. How do they handle conflict, boundaries, or really tough times that the company goes through? Because remember, your job is not your family, and the value you bring to the company shouldn't be about how much time you sacrifice and how much you have to go over and beyond. You should build great relationships, yes. You should care about the work you're doing, absolutely. but always put the boundaries in place to protect yourself and your career and put your career first. If you found this video eye-opening, check out some of my other videos on this channel about your co-workers not being your friends, but also about how you deal with co-worker boundaries. And I'd love to hear your stories around this, so please drop a comment below and tell me about your experiences working in these cultures. For more videos like this, please subscribe to my channel and stay tuned for the next one.